Forgot to bring film. There's a squirrel right there.
Audio texture. Is there a cheap 5D Mark II on sale yet?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Like, I've experienced full frame. I know what, like...
And film gets too expensive.
When?
How do you nail focus with that?
You can't.
Okay. Hey everyone, I'm here with my friend Dallas. Tell me about yourself.
What kind of intro are you looking for?
Tell me about your 9 to 5 and how you fit photography into your 5 to 9. Assuming you go to bed at 9 p.m.
Oh, if only that were the case. So my name is Dallas. I'm 30 years old. I just turned 30 this year, and I'm feeling all of the extended warranty wearing out already. I am a UX designer by trade. I went to school for marketing. I had my quarter life crisis.
There's a squirrel right there. Sorry.
Oh, wow. It originally became a career aspiration to be a professional photographer. And then eventually that died down because I realized how much work it is and how much people I have to interface with. So it became a occasional thing I would do when I'm traveling or when I'm with friends.
When you're bringing your camera out, are you intentional, or do you have it kind of like planned in your mind as to what shots you're going to get, or do you just kind of let the situation dictate what you're going to shoot?
I think it's a bit of both. It depends on the context and depends on where I'm going. I've actually stopped bringing my camera to a lot of things lately, mostly because I found it cumbersome and it gets in the way of what I'm trying to do in the first place, which is why I've shuffled and flip-flopped between much different cameras, systems. I've been very okay with bringing like a film camera with me just because it's so pocketable. I could throw into a sling bag whenever I feel like. The only problem is, oh, I forgot to bring film, for example, like I almost had today.
Yep. Forgot to bring film.
I mean, this is the equivalent of someone who didn't bring their SD card. Oh, I didn't bring film. I have a battery and I have nasal spray. And I did bring it. I did bring it. I remember. But I found that it's very unintrusive, especially in social situations.
Yeah.
There is less expectation of it being a photo and more of it just being a memory. And that's why I really enjoy bringing a film camera with me everywhere, because it just kind of slows everything down and I can just take a photo and go on with whatever I was trying to do.
Let's take a step back and going back in time a bit. How and when, don't pay any attention to the rain. So first, let's talk about how is photography still the same for you as it was 10 years ago?
I still really enjoy taking photos, having a camera on me and capturing something. I also still hate editing.
Okay, so those are those two things that are still the same.
Yes.
Okay, but what is different?
I think that I don't care about the quality of photos as much.
10 years ago, you were all about like the technical aspects of like, is it sharp?
One more thing. I don't care about gear as much.
Okay, yeah, fair.
As I did before.
Hence the film camera.
Yes, hence the film camera. And also I don't post photos as much anymore. I rarely post photos.
Okay. All right. We met in 2012, I believe, and you were working at Black's Photography at Fairview Mall. And I asked
Deep cuts.
to see. You don't remember?
I don't remember this. No, I remember that we met at Black's Photography.
I asked to try out the Nikon J1. Do you remember that camera? It was
that
Nikon's
piece of shit.
Yes, it was Nikon's first attempt at mirrorless cameras.
It had a 2.7 times crop factor.
Really?
Or something like that. Because I distinctively remember in my stupid like Wikipedia-like knowledge of obscure camera specs that it was like a 10 to 30 mil zoom lens.
We're talking about 2012. They were doing their best. Anyways, I didn't buy it.
Yeah.
I didn't buy it. Let's dive into the market of used goods. Describe to me your process for trying to get one, and was it more of the process of obtaining it, the chase, or was it really the camera? What were you more drawn to?
I think it's like 60% the chase, 40% the camera.
Yeah.
I think this comes out of when I had way more time in my hands and I would peruse like Kijiji non-stop. Like
Yeah.
like basically like every day being like, is there a cheap 5D Mark II on sale yet?
Yeah.
No. Is there one on sale today? No. The next day? No. And then eventually I found one for $900.
Is it raining?
Oh, yes, it is.
Oh fuck. Okay. Oh fuck. Okay.
Okay, let me know what I can help with.
We're gonna somewhere. We'll just go on the breezeway. So let's.
Oh, okay.
My God. Okay. Yeah, this is perfect. We're like, this works. This 100% works.
The audio is going to be terrible.
Oh, this is perfect. It's like a little thing.
Yeah, we've got audio texture. We've got changing sceneries and locations.
Yeah. Okay, when you finally got that camera, that was your first full frame.
Yep.
And how long did you stick with it before you stopped feeling excited for it?
So about 4 years.
4 years.
But in between that, I also was a second shooter for some weddings.
Yeah.
I shot events. I did portraits every now and then. I wouldn't say failed, but kind of failed goal of being a professional photographer. I think it was a success on my end that I realized that I didn't want to turn my hobby into a career.
Yeah. I mean, at least the camera's dry.
Yeah.
That's all that matters. I'm surprised how well this is holding up. Really.
A lot of splashes over there. Oh, over there.
Oh God. Okay, we're gonna pause.
I don't want to be your mic for it either.
Yeah.
It's getting wet now. Come back on this side. How do you park that poorly?
Wait, no, I think you're parked wrong.
Yeah, whatever. Oh well.
This is so fucking chaotic. New
New hairstyle.
Yes.
A little more damp than previously.
Yes. Okay, let's continue with the questions. Wait, where were we? Talk me through selling your entire system in 2016. Why did you do it? I mean, I think I know why you did it, but how did it feel? And what kind of contemplation did you go through? Because I sometimes have those moments where I just want to sell everything and rage sell. But I don't know where to begin, but I have so much of it. And I feel that whole philosophy of you have
Sunk
invested
costs.
so much into it.
Yeah.
So talk me through it.
It was actually not that melodramatic as you would describe it as.
I think it's because you're less emotional about it.
Yeah, I think part of it was in between those years of being a Canon user, I also purchased a Fuji X100T and an X100. And
while you still had the camera.
Yes.
Okay.
And a Ricoh GR. All because I was already getting sick and tired of having a DSLR in the first place. So it was more about me realizing that if I wasn't going to do this professionally, there was no reason for me to have a big DSLR. And at the time, there were no really good mirrorless options besides Sony and Fuji.
See, I kind of have similar life circumstances where, I'm no longer shooting professionally. And so
Ambient lighting.
I feel yes, more to do in post. I also know that I'm no longer going to be shooting professionally. And I kind of want the occasional tool for
fun.
Yes.
I think there was a sense of FOMO that I never really got after I stopped shooting with the DSLR. There was all this hype about what if you didn't bring this then? We brought this in.
Yeah,
it's a slippery slope.
That's a serious thing that I go through all the time before a trip. It's like a paradox of never being happy. Do you feel after making the evolution out of full frame and interchangeable lens cameras that you are liberated, that you are truly free? And what contributed to that?
Back pain.
Okay.
It's back pain and enjoying your travels.
Right.
Who is traveling? Is it the camera or is it me? I much rather prioritize my experience of enjoying something than to bring around cameras and lenses with me. Selection and what you can and can't shoot is actually quite liberating from an experience perspective. The photos that I get out of it are kind of the cherry on top because I feel good that I was able to document memories well.
Okay. I think the thing is, I have such high expectations for both the travel and the photos itself.
Yep.
And
very type A.
And maybe that and maybe that is what is causing me to almost not even have satisfaction in any of that aspect of it. The travels are a little bit compromised. The images are a little bit compromised because I'm not happy with them. I'm getting back pain. So
This bag is not light at all.
I know. The bag was heavy even with nothing in it. More questions, but I want to change. I want to go back to how you said about unlearning quality, prioritizing user experience. When did the X Pro 2 come into the picture?
I got that camera because I was getting a dog.
Okay.
It was literally like that whole spiel that I would get when I was working at Black's of like, oh, I'm gonna have a kid soon, so like I gotta make sure I have really good photos. And I was like, I'm getting a dog, and this is gonna be a big deal between myself and my girlfriend. I actually post a bunch of those photos onto like a shitty like stock photo.
And you made money?
I probably made like $100 so far.
Not bad.
Out of just throwing photos into like the ether and then getting sold for like 8 cents each. The main impetus of getting from switching back into mirrorless from the X100T was like the desire for more flexibility.
How does that work though? You went into this path where you're like, I'm free of choices and this is my life now, to like, now I want choices. And like, well, how do you reconcile with that?
It's called waffling nonstop about and going back on your opinions.
Yeah.
And also I think it's also about circumstance.
Okay. So you had money?
Yes, I had money. I have more money now. But I think what's also important here is that I actually don't care that much about lenses anymore.
Okay.
And I don't care about interchangeability in the sense of changing lenses while I'm somewhere. I like having the choice before I get somewhere. If I know I'm going to be going to somewhere that's a lot of landscapes, for example, probably bring an 18.
Yeah.
If I know I'm just going to be walking around doing fuck all, probably a 23, for example. And if I decide, oh, we might be shooting something that's really far away or whatever, I'll get a 35. Because what I learned when I was on that trip in Norway, I brought an 18 with me, that's it. And I was very okay with that.
Okay.
Because I prioritized size over anything else, because the 18 was basically a pancake lens. Image quality is kind of shit every now and then.
But you accept it.
C'est la vie. I was able to take photos, and I was able to enjoy the process of taking photos more than I was worrying about whether or not this was too wide, or if it's not zoomed in enough, or whatever. Or it's like, the corners are not perfectly sharp. Or like, there's so much vignetting at f2 or whatever the fuck it is. It's like, I just stopped caring.
Okay.
Audio texture.
Don't shit on us! Oh my fucking god! Okay.
Fine. And what I learned was when I went to Iceland and I got a zoom lens.
Did you use it at all?
Yes.
Okay.
I actually quite liked using it, mostly because I was driving. If I'm traveling and I'm walking a lot, that means I have to lug my backpack with me everywhere I go.
That is so interesting.
Regardless of what temperature it is, how sweaty I am, I'm carrying everything with me.
Yeah. Okay, so now I've had this aha moment where if your mode of transportation is one that is easy to just throw things into the trunk, you can pack a lot.
Yeah.
But if you know you're going to be using public transit, walking a lot, then small, inconspicuous primes are probably the way to go.
Yes.
All right, let's talk about aperture. So, like, you know how we have focal range FOMO sometimes? Or I do, you not so much. Do you ever have aperture FOMO?
Yes.
Oh.
But no.
Okay, let's talk about the yes.
Yes, because I know what large aperture can do. And I know, like, I've experienced full frame. I know what, like, a 50 1.2 looks like. I know what an 85 1.2. I know what a 135 f2 all look like.
Right.
But what I've also learned is that I'm not shooting people anymore. The idea of like isolating backgrounds is not that big of an issue for me anymore. I don't really look for photos like that. But I did try out a 35 f.95.
Oh, not even one. Okay. How do you nail focus with that?
You can't.
Okay.
Or what I would do is, what I did in Japan was I got my fiance. She would start off a little farther back than where I focused.
Yeah.
I would just burst it until I got until she hit the plane of focus. One photo that turned out really, really well.
Okay. I want to see it. I want to see
One photo. After that experience, I realized like there's no way I'm gonna find like a small f1. There's never going to be a situation where you can find a small f1 that's autofocus. And I hate manual focus, is what I learned. So it's like, I get the FOMO, but at the same time I know that if I had it, I would never use it. It's just like kind of being honest with myself.
Yeah.
Knowing that like, oh, I brought all these lenses, but at the end of the day, I know I'm not going to use them. I'm just going to use whatever that's attached to my camera, and I'm like, that's the reality.
Yeah.
And it can guarantee you in like 2 years I'll change my mind about this as well. But
that's where you are now.
That's where I am right now.
Okay. Let's talk about the future. When film gets too expensive.
When? It already is.
When you lose your job.
Which I inevitably will in these macroeconomic conditions.
Yes. Will you return to the digital mirrorless world given that technology is improving?
I don't get as much enjoyment out of digital now just because of like how accessible it is. I think it's too easy to take photos.
Yeah.
And there isn't like a level of intentionality that goes into taking photos anymore for me. Whereas like I know there's a role of film that needs to be used. I know there's a role that needs to be developed.
Like I want to know if that's part of the enjoyment of the process is from the moment of conceiving the photo, does there need to be a gestation period between taking the photo and receiving it in your hands?
To be fair, I don't ever receive them in my hand because I don't get prints.
Okay, I mean like
yes,
actualizing it.
Yeah. I think so. I think that there's a certain level of patience that you need in order for you to improve your craft.
So is the appeal that it is inaccessible?
Kind of. It's kind of a douchey thing to say. But I think that I have heat from a photography skills perspective, in my opinion. I don't think my photos are getting any better. There is a certain level of intentionality that goes into when costs are higher, when there is a gestation period for your photos, that you take a little bit less for granted.
Right.
You take a little bit more time and think about how you could have improved something because there's an actual cost to it.
And in archiving, keeping the negatives, preserving them.
Exactly.
That's a whole thing.
From a quantity perspective, I think digital photography has been great for that, and it's been able to like open up like a new hobby or a passion for a lot of people, and like for you and I'm sure that that's the case as well.
Yeah.
But as a result, it's like you can just take photos and never think about them ever again.
Yeah.
The barrier to entry is a lot higher for analog. It requires more craft, it requires a lot more capital, it requires a lot more of everything, but you become more intentional with what you're trying to build or trying to create.
Okay, there's a soccer game that just ended and there's people approaching the parking lot, so I think we should conclude. But thank you very much, Dallas, for this interview.
Thank you for having me.
If you enjoyed this video, I don't know, see you later.
You can find me on Instagram at Dallas Kwok. I don't post very often.
I'll put it out below. Sweet. See you in the next one.